Hello, everybody. Welcome to Zone Defense. Be sure to follow us on Spotify at Zone Defense Podcast, on Twitter at Zone Defense Pod, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Zone Defense Podcast. And be sure to ring that bell to get post notifications. Also, hit that like button, drop a comment down below, and let us know your thoughts on today's topic. Today, Chris, Roman, and I will be doing our Super Bowl preview. How's it going, guys?
I'm good, Drew. It's finally Super Bowl weekend. I'm really excited. Last pick'em of the year. We have something special as well to add on to that. And we do have some news, though, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, we'll get into the news really quick, and we'll run through the injuries quickly. Eric Fisher, he's probably going to miss the game, or he is going to miss the game with the torn Achilles, I believe it is. So he's going to be out for maybe going into next season. It could be big for the Chiefs going into next year. It's definitely going to get big for the game this week. We'll have to see how much that affects their offense. L'Jarius Sneed also down with the injury. Whitehead, Winfield Jr., Aaron Jones, you saw him take a huge shot last week. I think it was a shoulder, I believe, is what I saw. And I think he'll be fine. I mean, they're not playing this week, so it doesn't matter. But, it's going to be interesting to see where this is independent of the injury. But, he's a free agent this year. I wonder if they're going to be able to bring him back. He's going to take a big contract for him. He's a good running back, so I'm assuming it's going to take at least $10 million to bring him back. So I wonder if they're actually going to do that. But last one, Cole Beasley, and this is a crazy story. He was literally playing with a broken leg. So that's insane. It's a tough guy there for sure. Had a very good season this year. A lot of receiving yards, was part of the reason Josh Allen was so successful this season. He should be fine again for next season. So I'm not too worried about that. But we'll jump into the next news. There wasn't a ton of injuries. Obviously, there's a couple that are up in the air for the game so far, and it'll be interesting to see how much, if some of these guys miss, how much it's going to affect either team. But obviously we did the update video me and Roman did last week about the Matthew Stafford for Jared Goff trade with all the draft picks as well. 1 week later reactions. I'll start. I don't really have anything different than what I said. I think it was a good trade for both teams. If there was a true winner, I would say probably the Lions. Jared Goff, most likely going to be our quarterback for the next couple of years, which obviously for me, it's probably more of a nightmare than a dream come true, having him as our starting quarterback. I'm willing to put my personal feelings aside to get those 2 first-round picks and the third this year. Could be 3 quality players for us, or use this trade pieces and us moving up to get a better quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see what we end up doing with those picks. Drew, let's get your reaction, man. I'm especially interested to hear what you have to say because you weren't on the pod.
Yeah, so first, I enjoyed listening to your guys' update video. So for anyone who hasn't watched it yet, go check it out. But for my take on it, I really like it for the Lions. I mean, yes, we all love Stafford, and yes, it sucks he's gone. And I think the Rams are going to be good this year, probably next year. But Stafford's a guy who has had injury problems in the past. He takes a lot of sacks. I know everyone's treating him like he's the Super Bowl MVP already, but he hasn't even won a playoff game yet. So let's pump the brakes a little bit. I hope he's successful. I really do. But there is some concerns there. He's not getting any younger, and the Rams gave us a lot for him. They gave us obviously 2 first-round picks, gave us a 3rd-round pick, which is awesome. And then we got Jared Goff. And I know, Chris, you're really out on Jared Goff, but like you look at last year, I know everyone's, he doesn't have any heart. He's this, he's that. He played through a broken thumb. And when he's on the sideline, the one game he missed, he was like into the game. He was high-fiving people. He seemed like he was a leader. And guys who have attitude issues, guys like that, I don't think would have done stuff like that. And maybe it was just for show, who knows, but that's what he did. He led a team to the Super Bowl. And he even, like, in the playoffs, the first half of the Seattle game wasn't great, but then the second half he played okay. And I would say even in Green Bay, which is a really tough atmosphere to play in, he played pretty well. It's just Green Bay's offense absolutely destroyed the Los Angeles defense. So I know everyone's like, Jared Goff, he's just a bridge quarterback. I think there's a way, especially because it sounds like Campbell and Holmes believe in him a lot. I think there's a way that he could be our quarterback for the future, which I kind of like, not going to lie. I don't mind that. And because if it does work out, if he's as good as maybe we think he is, at least I think he could be, That means we get 2 first-round picks and a third-round pick we don't have to spend on a quarterback, and we could go and fill the defensive holes, fill the receiver holes, which is really nice. Or if it blows up in our face and he sucks, we don't have to deal with him for 2 years, and then we can draft a different quarterback, either this year's draft or next year's draft, or we could use the picks we got and trade up in the draft. There's just a lot of different avenues we could go. But right now, I'm optimistic Goff can be good. But even if he's not good, we're still in a really good spot. So I think that a really good win for the Lions. I mentioned to you guys, I was like, everyone was like, yeah, Brad Holmes, yes, Dan Campbell. I was like, I'm not getting hype until I see what they do with the Stafford trade. I think they really won this trade. Lots of upside, really no downside. Because even if Goff sucks, we're a rebuilding team anyway. Who cares? So really impressed by Holmes, really impressed by Campbell so far.
Yeah, for me, my position hasn't changed as much either. I still think the Lions won the trade. It was interesting to hear like the other packages that would have come out. Apparently, Carolina was willing to offer their the eighth overall pick and like a late round pick. But I think the Rams offer was clearly the best. 2 first rounders is better than 1. And like you said, Drew, if Goff can get his career on track, I think this trade will be even more of a win considering he's 26 and has a future ahead of him. I don't think he'll be as good as where Stafford was, but I mean, he has upside. He can play for maybe 10 plus years still. But like you said, if he sucks, then it's not going to be as big of a risk. And we can draft a quarterback at 7, which is still a possibility, or in the future. So I think it's definitely a win-win. But if Goff can somehow get back on track, I think it'll be even bigger of a steal than what I initially thought it was. And if you think about it, if we sign back Galladay, I think that'll be huge for him as well. Because I think personally, Galladay would be the best receiver Goff has ever had. So I think giving him a big deep threat weapon like that will be huge. He has Hawkins, I think, great tight end, good running backs. He has some similar pieces of what the Rams had, but overall it's going to be the defense that will maybe make or break the season and what the future will look like for Goff.
Well, and also you look at what Anthony Lynn did with Herbert last year. He's not a bad offensive He's not a bad offensive mind. I mean, yeah, he's a bad head coach, doesn't know how to call a timeout, doesn't know how to time manage down the stretch, but he's not a bad offensive mind. So I think that could work. And the big thing with Goff is just confidence, right? I mean, like he had McVay, he had Snead constantly telling him that he sucked and constantly micromanaging him and all that. And I know that's a great offense, obviously, but that's got to do something to your psyche. So I think just getting out of that situation could maybe bode well. And he could be more the guy he was leading a team to the Super Bowl, which again I don't think can go unrecognized because that is still impressive.
I mean,
I will mention though, sorry to cut you off there. I said it off the air, but Jared Goff kind of gave a little quote saying he's just happy that someone appreciates him in the Lions, and obviously the Lions have a mutual interest in him as well. He wasn't just thrown in there to take on the contract. I think the Lions were genuinely interested in having him.
Yeah.
So all you can really say is Jared Goff 2021 revenge tour. I mean, that's all you got to say.
I mean, yeah, and Holmes I think was like the guy that pounded on the table saying we got to draft Jared Goff by all reports back in 2016 because he was with the Rams. That's the one thing I saw. So yeah, I'm excited because even Chris, you're probably going to say this guy sucks. Even if he does suck, it's not really going to affect us that much. I did have somebody telling me that we could get a first round pick for Goff if he sucks. I don't think that's going to happen with that contract. But I still think even if we just have to deal with him for 2 years and he's really sucks, then that's that. But he was a first overall pick for a reason. So I'm excited to see what happens. It's just, there's just energy. You know what I'm saying? There's some juice. We don't have to see number 9 under center anymore. Like I'm excited. I know people are sad, but I'm excited. It's something new finally. But Chris, what are you going to say? We've cut you off like 6 times.
I mean, I get what you guys are saying with some of these things, but at the same time, sometimes the guy that was advocating for a certain pick can't let go of that certain pick.
That's true.
You've seen it multiple times where they'll let a quarterback have a longer leash just because they drafted him, and I think that could be the case. But I also agree with what you're saying, where I don't really think what he does these next 2 years matters at all because if he sucks. We can draft a quarterback and we can if he sucks, we're going to suck. So we'll get a top pick and we can draft somebody that has a lot more talent, frankly, in my opinion. But if he's good, which again, I don't expect, but I think there is a chance, he was a high pick, has shown flashes before, at least in the distant future, maybe not as much in the last couple of years. So I think it's possible he turns his career around, obviously. But at the same time, I'm starting to think that this move means that we are not going to re-sign Kenny Galladay. I don't see why he would spend his next contract here. Personally, it's just my opinion. I don't really think it makes sense for him I think he could get a lot of money on the open market and play for a winner, which we will not be for the next 2 to 3 years. After that, who knows? Maybe we could, but I don't get it for him very much. Drew, what do you want to
Well,
say?
it may not make sense for him, and I do kind of agree with that from our points of view. I don't think it makes sense for him if he wants to win, but reading the tea leaves, whatever the saying is, he went on Good Morning Football and said, I've talked to MCDC, I've talked to Holmes, I'm ready to go, I'm here for Detroit. Then I know this is really petty or really just shouldn't mean anything, but if you go on Instagram, you look at the trade. Galladay did I think he did like the prayers emoji or the fist emoji when we got Jared Goff, and then there's the one thing with the quote that you mentioned, Roman, about Jared Goff saying, "I'm just happy. I'm happy to be somewhere where I'm appreciated," or whatever that quote was. I think he talked to Mike Silver. I think that was where that quote came. He liked that and also commented like the same thing, like "Yes, let's go," something like that. So if you're reading that, I do think he's probably leaning towards staying. And honestly, if he stays, maybe we get a receiver in the draft, whatever. Our offense isn't terrible. Like, our offense is not that bad. If Goff is decent, I mean, we got a solid running back, solid receivers, assuming Galladay comes back, solid offensive line. Offense isn't going to be terrible. The defense is going to be god awful and probably is going to lead us to not win many games. But the offense, I don't think it's going to be that bad. And I think if you go off of what his Instagram activity is and what he's saying on Good Morning Football and everything, it sounds like he's happy to be with Holmes, happy to be with Campbell, happy to be with Goff, and I think he's going to stay. So even though I don't think it makes sense either, I agree with you there, Chris, but it sounds like he's probably going to stay.
I mean, we'll have to see what ends up happening. I think he's going to change his mind because I just don't. It doesn't make sense for him to waste the prime of his career, is probably his biggest 2 years of his career coming up on a team that maybe will win a combined 6 football games over the next 2 seasons, because they're going to be awful next year. I think they have a legitimate chance to be the worst team in football next season. I do.
Team, I don't know. They're not going to be a playoff team, I don't think, unless Goff just becomes really, really good. But,
I mean, they really struggled to win five games this year,
yeah.
and they had Matthew Stafford. They got an obvious. Say what you want about Jared Goff, you could believe in him. He's a obvious in every single category, an obvious downgrade for Matthew Stafford. And if you get, I mean, I would say Stafford was clearly their best player last season. If you lose out on your best player on a roster that already is void of a ton of talent, I think the next 2 years are going to be a couple trying seasons. I think they're going to struggle to win to just beat their way.
Depends what happens this year. It depends on what happens.
I mean, they're going to be awful. There isn't going to be a whole lot.
I mean, we've seen years previously where a team has we don't have a lot of picks, which is
that's what I'm saying.
Next year, I think is going to be bad, but the following year, I don't know if they're going to be as bad, just because the defense. If you hit on some of these picks, whatever, it could be good. So I don't know. That's my.
I mean, after next
year, offense has been awful.
I understand that they're not going to be awful, but they haven't been awful for the last 4 or 5 years, and they've had a much better quarterback.
So, here's what I'm saying. I'm saying that I think the team is going to be not a playoff team, but I don't think they're going to be the worst team in football.
I agree with that.
And I'm saying that I think they could absolutely be the worst.
They could also win the Super Bowl. There's a lot of possibilities out there. Anyway,
we're moving on.
Speaking of the Super Bowl, let's move on.
All right. So we'll talk about a couple other quarterbacks here. You saw the Watson, Derek Carr, trade being thrown out there. I think that's extremely interesting. I think Derek Carr is a significantly inferior quarterback to Deshaun Watson. It would take at least 2 to 3 first-round picks for me to make that move. It's interesting, but at the same time, I don't think Watson will go to the Raiders. He kind of would end up in a similar situation to where he doesn't really have a number one receiver. Then again, he's so good, he would just end up making what Henry Ruggs maybe somewhat relevant after an absolutely and this, I didn't think he was going to be that good. So, and Henry Ruggs, he didn't do much this year. So, I mean, maybe Watson could be a guy to turn him around. I don't think Derek Carr is that guy. I don't know, man. I don't see this happening. It's going to be interesting to see, and then we'll have to see. I mean, did you see anything about Alex Smith on here? I was wondering why he's on this, but
I was just putting like that. The news is basically that he's going to be a free agent and he might still stay in the league, but no one knows if he'll actually stay in Washington or not. Is basically the
Let's get him in
storyline.
Detroit. Let's get him in Detroit. He can
Oh, jeez.
be a guide for Jared Goff.
No, there's no point to there's no point to that. I think Alex Smith is probably at this point going to be a backup quarterback unless he resigns with the Washington football team. But I expect them to either draft or make a quarterback upgrade. Maybe they could be a team that trades for Derek Carr. I think that makes a little bit more sense. I think maybe the Panthers would make some sense for Derek Carr as well. He's definitely better than Teddy Bridgewater. Bridgewater stinks. I think that could be a possibility that he goes there. I think those are more realistic than Deshaun Watson coming in a swap with some picks, because I don't think Derek Carr has a lot of value. He's all right. I know Robin thinks he's a career backup now. Apparently, he's not that bad, but he's mediocre. I would say at least decent quarterback. Part of the system, I guess, maybe is why he's good. But we'll have to see. It'll be interesting. Alex Smith, I don't expect him to have a lot of value on the free agent market. Probably a backup, most likely, unless he signs back with Washington. But Carson Wentz, I didn't see any news on him. I think he's going to stay in Philly. That's my opinion. I don't see who is going to take on that contract. But then again, someone took on the Jared Goff contract, and it was our Detroit Lions. Took a lot of picks to do it, but could be a possibility that he is moved in a similar package like that. But he is also more talented than Jared Goff, in my opinion. And I think if people are writing off Carson Wentz after one bad season, that was just a terrible season overall, I think they should definitely have written off Jared Goff 3 years ago. So that's my opinion on that, because I think Wentz is a considerably more talented quarterback. I would have loved to see him in the Honolulu Blue, but it obviously isn't going to happen now. We'll move on to our next point. Just a couple of retirements. Greg Olson, Jason Witten, Marquise Pouncey all announced their retirements. Speaking of retirement, this is where my point comes in. I said before the pod that I have another bold prediction for the season. The Indianapolis Colts, they missed out on the Matthew Stafford sweepstakes. I know they're very disappointed in that, but have no fear. There is a quarterback in Indy that can save this team. I'm predicting it. Andrew Luck makes his triumphant return to the league this year and leads this team to a Super Bowl next season. I think there's some rumors going around the mill. I'm seeing some stuff on Twitter, nothing verified, nothing super serious, that he could be back. He is apparently meeting with the owner. This might be a lie, might not be true. He's supposed to be meeting with the owner of the team this week sometime to potentially be back on the team, and they've said they'll welcome him back with open arms. But I think Andrew Luck, it would be awesome if he comes back, man. I love Andrew Luck. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks. Reportedly, he's a lot skinnier now. It looks like he's in a lot better shape from a couple different pictures I've seen. Oh man, I really want him to come back. I don't know if it's actually going to happen or not, but I'm predicting it. It's a bold prediction. I told you this one was really bold. I think Andrew Luck's coming back this season, the Indianapolis Colts, and he could lead them to a Super Bowl victory next season. Drew?
I mean, you look at these rumors. It's just like, oh yeah, we'd love to have him back, but he's retired, and it's like Joe Thomas started this rumor for no reason, and it's like, I mean, I'll believe it when I see it. Why would somebody do that? Why would somebody, probably, in my opinion, do one of the worst retirements of all time in the middle of a freaking preseason game, get booed off the field in the middle of my fantasy football draft?
Oh my goodness.
Personal note, it hurt me too. Why would someone go through all that and then come back a year later? I don't know. I mean, I think to do that, you have to have a reason to do that. I think what's more likely, you mentioned with their Carson Wentz, who would get Carson? Who would want Carson Wentz? Blah blah blah. Indianapolis Colts, Frank Reich. They won a freaking Super Bowl together. Carson Wentz under Frank Reich in Philadelphia. He was almost an MVP candidate. He would have been the MVP had he not got injured. So I think Indy would definitely be a team that would land Carson Wentz before convincing Andrew Luck to come out of retirement, in my opinion.
I mean, if there's one person who can fix Carson Wentz, it's going to be the new coach. Was it Nick Sirianni is his name? Great press conference.
Oh yeah,
I mean, he's nervous. I don't want to rip him, but yeah, that was pretty embarrassing. He just kept saying, what he kept saying. We're gonna get better. systems in place, and he kept saying the same thing over and over again. Yeah, I mean that's fine if you're like the head coach of the Sacramento Kings or some team that nobody cares about. But when you go to Philadelphia and they just eat you alive
Yeah.
nonstop,
They're gonna
it's
bite your
not a good look
kneecaps.
for you, buddy. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. No, yeah, it is very relatable. I mean, I could see myself going up there and doing that in my opening press conference, being super, maybe I don't stutter a lot like that on here, but in terms of like public speaking, I don't exactly love it. So he's relatable in that sense, but it's definitely funny to see it. I just wanted to reiterate how confident I am that Andrew Luck is coming back to the club, and I think they would much rather. I don't think it's going to take a lot of convincing. I think he's going to come back on his own free will. I know there's been, like you said, you saw the Joe Thomas thing. That's not what I'm talking about. I saw it's not a verified source, but if you're on Twitter, the black market for sports news, Incarcerated Bob. You ever heard of him? He saw this text thread going around. He ended up deleting it, but it's a text thread saying that he is supposed to be meeting with the owner this week and he may be coming back. I
We'll see
don't
if your
know.
sources are correct.
If that
They might
happens,
not.
that'll be the better than Roman's Adrian Peterson fantasy pick from a few weeks ago. That's going to be the biggest just shocking move of any of us have ever made. So I'll give you credit for that, Chris. But I still think it's highly doubt.
We'll have to see.
I highly doubt it. Highly doubt it.
All right, I'm ready to start to pick them if you guys are.
Yeah, let's do this. So we got the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Tom Brady, Gronkowski, Leonard Fournette. They're dancing in the locker room. They're living life. They're having a great time. So should be a really entertaining Super Bowl. I was kind of disappointed because I wanted the Bills to make it or the conference championship 2 weeks ago, and they just quite frankly didn't show up. And then I did like how they started punching people at the end of the game, though. That was entertaining as a Chiefs hater personally. And then the Buccaneers, though, the Packers. It was a good game overall. They obviously got screwed though on the LaFleur call to not go for a fourth down. But I think underratedly, I think Aaron Rodgers should have ran that ball into the end zone. Right, he had a clear lane. So I know everyone's ripping on LaFleur, but like A-Rod, you kind of blew it again in the NFC Conference Championship game. So, but anyway, that's 2 weeks ago. Let's focus on this game. I'm making the first pick. I said it right there. I don't like the Chiefs personally. I think they're boring, they're irritating, and I don't like them. So I like picking the team I'm going to root for. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, baby. So I'm picking the Bucs. I think Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. Yes, he's lost a few times. He's also Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. I think he's going to win. The Buccaneers, for what it's worth, have won in their only appearance in the Super Bowl. They won it with John Gruden back in, I think, 2003, I think it was. So I don't know. Their defense is good. Their offense is good. Yeah, the Chiefs look unstoppable right now. I think it's going to be really tough for the Bucs to win. But overall, I don't know. I want to pick the team I'm going to root for. I think it's going to be a close game. We'll get into the prop bets a little bit later. You'll see that will be reflected in my scoring prediction. So overall, I'm going to go with the Bucs.
Yeah, I mean this is an easy pick because I know where Roman's going to go as well. I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. Try to win at least this portion of the pick'em. I'm wearing a Kansas City hoodie right here. It's a team that I know Drew absolutely trashes them all the time, but I do like the Chiefs. I know it's a little bit of a. I mean, they're kind of like the new Patriots. Not maybe the favorite team to root for, but they're really fun to watch. I mean, I don't know how you're beating Mahomes, Kelce, and Hill in the Super Bowl.
You just bite their kneecaps off and then you win.
Oh my goodness, no, that's not. That team won't be anywhere near the Super Bowl within the next 5 seasons. But with the Chiefs and the Bucs, I mean, the Bucs coming off a great win, but the Chiefs they've been super dominant. I think they still would have not blown out the Browns, but at least it would have been a lot more convincing of a victory if Patrick Mahomes would not have gone down with an injury. If you take that out, they've been extremely dominant throughout the playoffs so far and throughout the regular season. One of the best regular seasons of all time, in my opinion. But, if anyone was going to beat this team in the Super Bowl, it was going to be the 49ers last year, up 20-10 with 7 minutes left. I don't think any other team's going to have a chance like that to win. I think the Chiefs are going to take them down. It'll be close, very close game. I'm excited to watch it, but I think it's going to be the Chiefs game.
Yeah, I also think this game will be close, but like kind of what you were alluding to, I'm taking the Bucs in this game. You guys are wearing themed for the teams. I got nothing, so I'm wearing the Lions. I'm like the guy at the Super Bowl who wears like a jersey that's not even playing in the game. So, but I do think this would be a really good game. It's the little things for me that I think will amount to this game. Whether it's the Buccaneers actually being home for this game, they don't have to travel. Their practice field's right outside the stadium. I think that plays a huge part of it. They have the familiarity of the stadium, even though they played each other earlier in Tampa Bay. I think just the overall environment will be favorable for the Buccaneers, and even the injuries. The Chiefs are losing out on some key offensive linemen and Fisher and Schwartz, who went out a few weeks ago. And the Bucs, who didn't have Antonio Brown and Winfield last game versus the Packers, are going to have him this week. So I think that plays a huge role. Obviously, it's going to take a lot to beat the Chiefs. Hill had 300 yards last game, but they only won by 3. So I think it's going to be really close. And I think Brady's expertise and experience will come through in this game.
Yeah, and the last week their defense, or 2 weeks ago, their defense, the Bucs defense, shut down the Packers. Really good offense, which I would argue was better than the Chiefs, at least in the regular season this year. I mean, even in their one playoff game against the Rams, I mean, they absolutely destroyed the Rams, and then the Bucs were able to stop them. So I think the Chiefs are going to get it. They're going to score a lot because they're the Chiefs, but I think the Bucs defense will be able to do enough to limit them. And Brady, he hasn't even played that well as the first 2 playoff games. He's due for a big playoff game, so I think that's going to work out for sure.
Yeah, and one more thing is I don't think Brady throws 3 picks in this game. Plus, I don't think Evans and Godwin drop almost all the balls they're thrown. Yeah. We kind of got into a little heated discussion about Evans and that interception that Brady had, where Evans didn't even make an attempt at it, but I think he'll have a much better game, and I think Brady will cut down on the turnovers.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be a good game overall, and we're going to jump into some prop bets now because we want to do some more pick'em stuff because it's just one game to pick. So we had a bunch of prop bets right here. We're just going to go down one by one. I guess I'll start off first. So the first one is just picking the score. So I have Tampa Bay winning, so I'm going to go Tampa Bay, I'll say 35, and then I'll have Kansas City going 31. So I think it's going to be a last-second Tom Brady drive into the sunset to win this game. But, Chris, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to I'll go Kansas City with 38, and then I'm going to go with Tampa Bay 31. It's going to be a high-scoring game. I think both defenses are going to struggle, but ultimately the Chiefs are going to come out on top.
I have this as a field goal game. I have Tampa Bay 30 and Kansas City 27. Field goal win.
So I think I'm doing some quick math here, but I believe based on our scores, we're all going to take the over here, I think, with the over-under 56.5 points. I believe we're all taking the over. So I'll be a quick one. We go through that. MVP. So MVP of the Super Bowl. So I'm picking Tampa Bay. You look at, I feel like Tom Brady is very similar to LeBron, where even if like you could argue last year in the NBA Finals, Anthony Davis might have been a little bit better than LeBron, but because it's LeBron's team, he's going to win the Finals MVP. I feel like it's the same with Brady, at least at this point in his career. I know with like the early Patriots Super Bowls, I don't think he won the MVP. I think even Edelman won it a couple years ago against the Falcons. But it's hard to bet against Brady. If they're going to win this game, Brady's going to have a really good game. So I think it's got to be Tom Brady. It wouldn't surprise me though if like Antonio Brown or Evans or Godwin just has like a monster line or something like that, or even if a defensive guy steps up, because Murphy Bunting's been pretpretty good here in their couple playoff games. But Chris, who do you got?
Yeah, I think the chalk pick is to go Patrick Mahomes. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go with the player that's already torched this team once in Tyreek Hill. He absolutely lit them up last time they played. I think it's more the same. The recipe's the same. And I just realized I actually have a Tyreek Hill jersey, so I should be wearing it right now, but I'm not. I think he's going to go off again, over 200 yards. I'm calling it. I think he's going to have 202 again, as in a monster performance.
Yeah, so for me, I think obviously the chalk pick is Tom Brady, but I wanted to be a little bit off the board. I think this is going to be a really interesting pick for me. I think this player will have multiple touchdowns this game. So if it wasn't Tom Brady, it'll obviously be this player, and he's formerly known as Playoff Lenny. Give me Leonard Fournette.
I thought about taking him, so I'm happy you took him because he's hype right now. He's in the locker room, he's dancing, he's doing a bunch of different things. I'm excited for sure. But moving to the next thing, the coin flip, heads or tails. So this is literally a coin flip of a pick because it's a 50-50 chance. Tails never fails though, so I'm ultimately going to go with tails. But Chris, what do you want to pick?
Oh, I mean, to make it a little bit more interesting, I'll go with heads. Obviously it's a coin flip, so there's not really any way to predict it. But it's I'm gonna go with heads. Heads never fails.
Tails never fails. I'm going with tails.
All right. Next up, national anthem over under 2 minutes. So for those that are wondering, the average national anthem, I believe, is 1 minute 55 seconds. Last year, it was sung by Demi Lovato. She did it for, I think it was 2 minutes and 11 seconds. This year, it's by Eric Church and Jasmine. I forgot her last name, but those are the two singers that are doing it. Ultimately, I'm going to go with the over. I think, especially if there's two singers. You got to have it. It's going to take longer a little bit. Last year it took longer, over 2 minutes. I think it's just going to be, it wouldn't surprise me if there's some sort of like flyover and then they like hold the last note really long and it gets over that 2 minutes. So I'm going to go with the over.
Give me the under for this one. I think I went with the over last year. Ended up being right. I'm going to try to go 2 for 2. I know it's obviously there is two people. It's a very good point. I didn't really think about that before this, but I think Eric Church is going to get to it quickly. I think he's going to jump in. Not going to be dancing around the issues too much. I think he's going to keep it at a good pace. We're going to get the under, but just by a little bit.
I'm going to go with the over, but the one thing I can think of that could potentially speed this up a little bit, I think there's a poem going to be read before the game as well. So if they want to speed things up a little bit, they'll run through that pretty quickly.
I mean, last year they did the 100 NFL greats thing at the beginning of the game. It's one thing with the Super Bowl is they don't care about they will do the pregame for as long as it takes. And also the other singer's name was Jasmine Sullivan. Wanted to get that right. I forgot her last name, but I wanted to counter though something with you, Chris. Eric Church, he's a country singer, man. He's slow tone, slow. It can be slow. It could be slow, but we'll have to wait and see. Gatorade color. This was a no-brainer for me. So this is for the color of the Gatorade that when they pour it on the coach at the end of the game, what color it's going to be. All week we're talking about, oh man, the aesthetics of the game. It's all reds. So it's only fitting that they'd be red Gatorade color, in my opinion. If it's anything else, I'd be shocked because it's just nonstop talk about the jerseys and everything like that, how everything's red. So why not have some red Gatorade as well? But Chris, what do you think?
I was going to go with red, but I don't want to copy you. So I'll go with the secondary Kansas City color, yellow, is what my prediction is going to be for the winner. Because I think Kansas City is going to win. I could see theirs being the lime Gatorade, which is a very good Gatorade flavor, in my opinion. One of my favorites.
True.
I was going to go with red, but just to be different. Last year's was orange. I think that will stay the same. Give me orange.
Yeah, at least we have reasons this time. I remember last year I just picked purple just because I like the color purple, and it was just completely random. But a little more science to my pick this year. But next up with the first touchdown scorer. So I think the Chiefs are going to win the coin toss, and I think they're going to go down there in the first possession, even though I think Tampa Bay is ultimately going to win the game. So Chris, you mentioned it, Tyreek Hill, obviously super great player, really good, but another super great player that's also really good is Mr. Travis Kelce. So I think he's going to have the first touchdown of the game. What do you think, though?
And yeah, I think the Bucs are going to get the ball first, and they're going to give it to Mike Evans for the touchdown. And I think he's going to catch a nice 2-yard touchdown in the back of the end zone from Tom Brady.
It's a glorified tight end.
Yeah, pretty much.
I do think Tampa Bay gets the ball first, but they're going to punt it away. And who's going to score? Give it to McCole Hardman. That's my pick.
Wow.
The Bucs got bailed out. The Bucs got bailed out a couple times last week on punt returns. They were called back, but I think Hardman breaks one this game to make up for his fumble also in the conference championship.
Yeah, and he kind of had that long run too against Buffalo as well. The McCole Hardman revenge tour, I guess, is happening as well. In addition to the Jared Goff revenge tour that we talked about earlier. So maybe that's a good pick, all good picks. So next up, will there be a trick play touchdown? I think this is just going off of the Philly special from, I think that was with the 2018 Super Bowl, I believe. Again, this is pretty much a toss-up. I feel like the odds of there being a trick play touchdown, though, are higher than the odds of there not being a trick play touchdown. So I'm going to go yes, but really it's a complete crapshoot.
Yeah, same here. I just know that Tom Brady led teams usually try trick plays, and you've seen the Kansas City Chiefs offense. Basically, their whole offense is a trick play. Obviously, that stuff with the Mahomes flips and stuff that doesn't count. But I could see them doing some exotic throw with one of their receivers, like Tyreek Hill, who's made a couple passes in the past, or Travis Kelce, who had a pass almost be a touchdown this season as well. I think there's going to be at least one, if not multiple.
Are you guys counting the Mahomes stupid underhand pass as a trick play?
No,
All right, then no. I'm going to say no.
Yeah, the one that they always show in the replay. Oh, look at Mahomes. He can underthrow the ball to a wide open receiver. Oh, my God.
1 yard in front of him.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I've heard some other people talking about this. Is a little bit off topic, but like Tony Romo, I love Tony Romo when he's calling it for your team. But when he's just so hyped for a team that you don't like, it's like, dude, just stop talking. Even though he's really knowledgeable and I enjoy it and it adds like some flavor to the game, it is really annoying. And I have heard some other people talk about that. But when he's just like, Patrick Mahomes, awesome, it's like, okay, I'm kind of done. Anyway, speaking of Patrick Mahomes, over under 332 and a half passing yards. That'd be something if he only has 32 passing yards. But so I think you guys are going to take the over. I'm going to go with the under to match up with my pick of Tampa Bay winning. I think it's very realistic. It's probably there's definitely a better chance he gets over that. But I think he can still have over 300, but not past that 332 and a half benchmark. So I'm going to go with the under.
I mean, it's a high line to get, but last time these two teams played, he absolutely crushed this line. I think it's a no-brainer to go at the over in this one. I think Mahomes, even if they end up losing the game, will be at least 350, if not 400 yards.
Yeah, he's not getting 400, but I do think he hits the over.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've been pretty chalk with most of my picks. I wanted to take one that was a little bit different. But so Brady over under 295 and a half passing yards. This one I will go with the over. I think if they're going to win this game, he's going to have a solid game. I think a couple years ago, he just threw the ball a ton. I think he's a couple times where he's had over 400 and maybe even over 500 as well passing yards in the Super Bowl. So I think 295 should be an easy benchmark for him to pass.
Yeah, I agree, Drew. I'm going to go with the over for Brady as well. I think no matter what the result of this game is, I think both quarterbacks are going to throw for over 300 yards in this one. I think Brady definitely at least 315. If not, he may even hit Mahomes' over this week.
We've seen the past couple of weeks Brady doesn't have to necessarily air it out as much to win, but I think in this game he'll hit the over because he has to.
Yeah, and then last one, Brady over under with rushing yards. So he's got a 0.5 rushing yards right now. I'm going to take the over. I think he loves doing that little scramble where he puts his head down and gets like that extra yard for the first down or the small touchdown. So I can see him getting 1 yard. But I think this is more just a joke more than anything. That's kind of funny. But Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, this was put in here just as a meme. Obviously it's just a funny line that all he has to do is get 1 rushing yard. But I'm not super confident about it. I am going to take the over because I feel like in the Super Bowl I've seen him had a couple 5-yard, 10-yard runs before in my life and the times he's been there. I'm going to take the over, even if he gets one of those QB sneaks into the end zone. He's so good at that. That qualifies as the yard. I don't think they're going to win the game, so I don't think he's going to be kneeling it out. For those reasons, I'll take the over.
Yeah. That's a good. I didn't even think about that angle. Yeah,
right. he could score a 1 yard rushing touchdown, but then kneel it to get negative. But I'm going to go with the over as well. And one thing I do want to add as a funny little prop bet: how many times do you think the weekend commercial will be played during the Super Bowl? Over under 50. I'm taking the over.
I'm going to take the over to 750. I think it's going to be the only commercial played. I think during the game they're going to play it on the field, and that'll be the print of the field for the game.
I'm going to take the under because why are they going to play it in the second half? Literally, there's zero purpose for them playing in the second half because he's already played. But I will add, going off of that, I did hear, I think during the media. Yeah, that media availability or whatever. I think that song was played for 35 minutes, I heard, or something like that. It was something insane. They just played it nonstop. It's I honestly didn't mind that song to begin with, but just having it on every commercial all the time,
the whole playoffs,
everything. It's just, I hate the song. If he plays it, I'm just going to start booing him from my couch. But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up for the prop bets and our overall pick 'em. This was a lot of fun to just go over those. I did want to bring up one other funny prop bet I saw. I don't know if it was real or not, but it was over under how many times does Tom Brady kiss his son on the lips if they win the game. I don't know if that was real or not. I couldn't actually find it, but I did hear a couple people talking about that one, so that's kind of funny. But
I'm not going to answer that one.
Do you guys have anything else you want to add here before we close things down?
No, really excited for the game. Obviously, been a great season. Wasn't sure it was going to finish out after those early COVID scares. A couple of games had to get postponed, but here we are in the big game. Brady versus Mahomes. It doesn't get much better than this. I'm extremely excited to watch this one, guys, and talk about it in the offseason as well.
Yeah, just this season as a whole has been really fun, especially doing this pick'em. Very competitive, very fun. And I assume we're going to do this next season as well. And I just want to do like a little shout out to our viewers because we've been hitting some good numbers the past couple of videos, and we're just really thankful for it. So thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I also think Jack too. We wanted to give a special shout out to Jack, who's I think our biggest fan so far. So thanks for your support through everything. But yeah, it's been fun doing this. It's been fun that the whole season actually came to an end because, like you, Chris, I doubted that we would get this far. So it's really, really impressive. And it seems like hopefully next season, if things keep going as they're going right now, next season will be more normal. Maybe we'll be able to do this in person eventually, get to some games. Who knows? But that's it for our previews for this season. Hopefully you watch the Super Bowl. We'll be back next week to break down the Super Bowl as well as some of the off-season storylines as well. But once again, we are the Zone Defense Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Spotify and Twitter at Zone Defense Pod, and search us on Apple Podcast. Down below, be sure you smash that like button and drop a comment. Let us know your Super Bowl predictions. We'd love to hear your answers to all of our prop bets that we answered, and maybe some other ones that you found online, whether it be Brady kissing his son. I've seen a bunch of how many times does Trump get mentioned during the broadcast? How many times do they pan to Giselle? How many times is Mahomes' pregnancy or his wife's pregnancy or how many times does his marriage or engagement get mentioned? So there's tons of great prop bets. If you find some good ones, definitely let us know down in the comments. We'd love to read them. And also we have our new basketball hour that Chris and I do. We'll have episodes up there every week, typically on Mondays or Tuesdays. So be sure to check all those out, as well as all of our NFL off-season content. But thank you for listening to this episode, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.
See ya.